113, Bambos. 113. We've made it to a unlucky 13 number, but on 100.
My birthday's on the 13th.
Is it?
Shit.
Why doesn't that surprise me? We have David Warnock on today. David Warnock is somebody who came in from our mutual friend Cass Midgley, who's also been on the show. And we are going to discuss his journey after having been diagnosed with
Bravo! As Andy is speaking, he shall never multitask again.
Okay, so should we redo the start and play it over again, or
I want to say wonderful chaos.
Okay. So go back. So we have David Warnock on, and we're going to discuss
Dying Out Loud
and his journey with ALS on
A Wonderful Chaos. People,
bye. That's a first for the show.
Andy is fasting day 4, religiously fasting, as he puts it. So
yes.
Please forgive him.
I can even feel my face looking thinner. You notice that?
No.
Okay. Well, it
That's
feels
just your eyesight blurring out.
It's my bifocals. It's my second week or third week with these bifocals on in front of the computer. Everything is a little bit different.
I like them on you. I think this is the first decent glasses I've seen you have.
Yeah. Well, Dave has Dying Out Loud. I have Aging Out Loud now because I think there's certain milestones in life, and one of them is like bifocals. Once you get bifocals, of course the gray comes, and then the bifocals come. Then you start losing teeth. You don't think about flossing till you get to say 50 years old. Are you flossing yet?
Every day.
Okay. Well, at some point, like the doctor says, "Hey, we're gonna pull these out if you don't start flossing." So I've just noticed that.
No, I'm scared of dentists, so I'm religiously looking after my teeth.
So I've been tracking Dave's activities for a year now, and basically Dave was diagnosed.
That's one of them.
That's one of them.
Yeah,
that's him living out loud before he's dying out loud. And what happened was Dave. He was friends with Cass Midgley, as I mentioned before. I screwed up the introduction, and he was diagnosed with ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, in February 2019. What I thought was interesting, when he gave us the date, he gave us the exact date. So it was February 26th, 2019. And I think it's curious when someone gives an exact date. It's like on a past show I once mentioned, like I can tell you the date like my mom and dad died, but I can't tell you when they were born. So there's like these significant dates, and somehow they have these milestone aspects to them where life really changes. So this was what it was for him. And he said, basically, with this experience, I'm going to do this the way I want to do it. So he drastically shifted his life, and he said, hey, I'm going to die out loud, right? And we've seen so many of these, and I've written a bit about this in some of my books as well, with, what does life look like if we sort of say, today could be my last day here? Like, how do we live differently? And I think one thinks they could imagine it, but they can't. Until you've been told, hey, this is it, then whatever you're doing is not real. But nonetheless, allowing yourself to feel the full intensity of life, I believe you live a much richer life in the end. So we're going to discuss that with Dave today. Anything going on for you that you'd like to chit-chat about?
No.
No?
It's probably going to come out in tears during the show.
Yeah. You're already starting to get that emotional shutdown thing going on. Not totally, but I'm going to tell you what it looks like. It looks like you stop smiling and you make a straight face.
I'm smiling.
I know before you were, though, before you were not smiling. You'd start to make the straight face. And then I start looking over like, oh, shit, is he going to like break or is he going to show? But every time you're showing. So
no, I'm showing.
I'm celebrating it.
Thank you.
This is it. So let's bring Dave on. to the couch with us today.
I was going to do the intro song again.
The third time. Dave, you can hear us sing the third time our song.
I love it.
Nice to have you.
Great intro, guys.
Nice. Thank you for coming. So how does it feel to be dying?
You know, as some people like to say, we're all dying.
No, that's what I was thinking to myself when I asked you. I was thinking, what kind of question is that? It would be like, look in the mirror, Andy. We're all dying.
We start dying the time we're born. And I get people asked. I get asked a lot in the Q&A when I do talks. Are you afraid of dying? And really, not to jump too far ahead, but no, it's nothing to fear because it's the natural result of living.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that we're all alive means it means that we're all going to die.
Yeah.
Mine has, I've just been given a little bit of a glimpse into most likely what is going to be my ending. And I've been given a time frame, which is vague, but at least it's something. And most of us don't get that. And so in a way, oddly enough, it's a bit of a gift because it allows me, almost forces me to focus on things that matter and to do the things I might put off doing, like jumping out of an airplane.
Yeah.
You know, you'll say, "Oh, that'd be fun to do one day," or you might say, "No, my God, I'd never do that." But then when you've got a limited window, you think, "I better get this done." And so it amplifies and magnifies the beauty of life and causes you to start grabbing that with more gusto. At least it has for me.
Yeah. I remember when I was in a plane once with my former mentor. We were on a plane trip. And we went up, and then the airplane decompressed. He had cancer at the time. We didn't know. We didn't think he had much a long life to live. But we're on this plane. The decompression hits, and then the plane nosedives really fast so that it can get to an altitude where it doesn't have to deploy these air masks. And so we're kind of holding each other's hands. And as we're going down, I looked at him. I said, "God, I've got so much more time to lose than you do right now." And both of us just start laughing, and everyone else is freaking out on the plane, and I was just sitting there.
Easy for you. You're dying anyway, right?
Exactly. You're you know.
My whole thing with skydiving is that
What was this?
This was right a few months before Chase died.
Didn't open. The guy on top of me there, Scott, is the one that's really losing out. I'm dying anyway, so sorry.
I know that's what I was. That's exactly why it came to my mind. Is I'm like thinking the guy above you doesn't realize I got nothing to lose.
But there is that moment, right? You know, when the door opens and there's nothing between you, and they shovel you over to the door, and there's that moment when you literally lean forward and fall out of a plane with nothing but the ground below you, 15,000 feet. It's quite a rush. It's an amazing experience.
I've never done it. You?
No.
No.
I've done gorge swing where I just jumped without.
The frustrating part, you can see in that picture, my hands are flopping behind me like a couple of broken fins on a
Yeah,
fish.
they look that way. Yeah.
And I was trying because the photographer is jumping with us, and so he's right in front of me. And the idea is to high five them and grab their hands and peace signs and thumbs up. I could not get my arms forward because that's where my ALS symptoms are, is my hands and arms. There's weakness in these extremities. And I could literally not move my arms forward. And it was so frustrating. And so I didn't tell the guy that I jumped with until the chute opened and it was quiet and we were floating. That's when I told him I had ALS.
Oh, wow.
And he was quite moved, actually, because he had a friend. And he said, "Man, I'm gonna give you the ride of your life." So he let me steer it a little bit as much as I could. And we moved around different places, and it impacted the jump for him too, which was that was a pretty cool. I didn't really see that coming.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing I see. We're talking about you and ALS here specifically, but I see in life, we don't give people the opportunity to meet us in our vulnerability. And that's the gift that we take away from them, because they actually can share with us an experience, which I find to be so lovely. And
it is. And that's the thing I've seen with my Dying Out Loud that I've been doing the last year and a half. Oh, speaking of Marie, she popped up.
Yes. Maria's saying hello to us.
Yeah. as I've opened up about my journey and been vulnerable and transparent, I have heard from so many people literally all over the world who have taken some kind of inspiration and courage from my story. And it's been one of the most gratifying things, probably the most gratifying time of my life, which has been a real paradox that when I got this diagnosis back in February, like I said, I didn't see any of this coming. I thought I might be dead in a year. I had no idea what to do.
Yeah.
But this journey has been extraordinary, and it will go down as probably the best time of my life in a weird way. I can't explain it, but
you know,
the lives I've been able to touch have been it's been overwhelming to me.
The mentor that I mentioned earlier that died of mine, he told me that years before I met him, he was diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
And immediately he had a feeling of elation, like, wow, I don't have to worry about anything right now. I can just live.
Yeah.
So that was like,
I've made the joke, I'll never pay another parking ticket kind of thing, you know?
Well, he said this is a funny thing. He went through, and then he was diagnosed, and then he had those few weeks where he was like, what the hell's going to happen to me? And then the doctor says, you're most likely going to live. And when the doctor said that to him, he lost that same joy that he had when he was first told. And it was the biggest paradox for him. He says, how can it be that I'm told I'm going to die and now I feel fully alive, and then I'm told I'm probably going to live, and now all of a sudden all the joy is gone?
That is an interesting paradigm. It's like when I first got diagnosed, they tell you literally, they say you've got ALS, and I've learned this, neurologists do not have the best bedside manner. Let's just say it that way.
Yeah.
So this guy says, there was a test he's given me, and I said, I just want you to tell me the truth. And I said, do I have ALS? And he said, yes, you do. And he said, I'm sorry to give you this diagnosis, but you have ALS. And it was quiet, just me and him in the room. And I'm half naked, you know. And so I said, okay, should I get dressed? And he said, yeah, go ahead and get dressed. And the elevator's down the hall to the left. No follow-up, no, we want to see you next week, no pamphlet for mental. You know, if I would have been mentally weaker, I could have gone and jumped off a bridge, because they tell you you've got 3 to 5 years to live. And it's going to get really bad. At the end, you're not going to be able to eat or walk or talk or dress yourself or wipe your own ass. But there's the elevator, and have a good day.
Have a good day.
Yeah, it's stunning.
Yeah, I've heard this often, that people that have been diagnosed with terminal illnesses are sort of not treated in a way that helps them grounded or give them any sort of sense of security in terms of the process, right?
And I've talked to some neurologists since then. I said, you guys might want to at least direct me to here's the therapist down the hall. She'd like to talk to you now, and here's some materials we'd like for you to read. You know, something, Jesus Christ. But so with that, I kind of, like your friend, I thought, oh my God, I've got to ramp up things here. So I made a lot of drastic changes in my life, and I thought, I'm just going to live life as hard and fast as I can. If I've got a good year, I'm going to make it a good year, because who knows what's going to happen after that. Here I am almost 2 years later, and I'm still going strong. I've learned in the ALS community that I'm one of the slower progressors.
Okay.
It can go really. I've met people, I've learned of people who've been diagnosed and dead within 6 months. It can happen really fast, or it can happen slower, and mine is going slower. So I've had to adjust my mind, like your friend, and say, okay, dial it back a bit, Dave. You don't have to be in such a hurry. And it was affecting my relationships. It was affecting my mental attitude. And then when COVID came along, that really was a sucker punch to the gut, because I had trips planned. I was actually going to be in Amsterdam in June of this year at a conference, speaking at a Sunday assembly, and that got canceled. So then I had to adjust everything again, and I really had to learn how to slow down and just take a deep breath and realize, okay, I'm going to be here a little longer than I thought, perhaps. So now, how do I live?
Yeah.
I was looking forward to our show because I kind of needed this, or some inspiration. I wanted some of that joy of appreciating life, because I've lost connection with gratitude. So
Oh,
I just want to say thank you.
oh man, that's awesome.
And then I'd love to ask you, what were the things you said no to after your diagnosis?
The things I said no to. That's a good question. I think I was kind of all out of fucks before this, but now I'm really all out of fucks, and I've really kind of got a fuck deficit. I'm in the red on fucks. And it really started living this way when I left my marriage after I deconverted from Christianity about 4 years ago. And at that point, I really kind of rebooted my life, and I really kind of started living in a way that was different for me, where my motto became carpe the fucking diem, and I'm just gonna do life on my terms. I'm gonna write my story, because I'd given my agency to a deity for most of my life, and now I was taking that back, and I was the one writing my story. And then with ALS, I just ramped that up. I maxed the accelerator down, and I kind of had that attitude on steroids. So I don't do the things I don't want to do. I'm not unkind, but if there are people that I don't particularly want to spend time with, I don't mesh well with them, we don't connect, I give myself permission to say, no, I don't need to spend time with them. I'm good without that. And so I just do more of what matters to me in that sense. And so I say no to things that I don't feel like matter to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, clearly. I think I was looking for the juicy details.
like what?
Like fuck people that do this, like where you might have tolerated them before.
Fuck people that support Donald fucking Trump.
That's what I was expecting. That's what I was expecting
for them. My girlfriend Bevan, bless her heart, she tries to engage them, and she makes good arguments, and she's trying to have an important conversation on things that really matter here, because it's a real shit show here, you guys.
Yeah, I know, we see it.
It's bad. It's really bad.
I don't see it.
On the news.
I don't have room in my life for those people, because I don't think you can reason with them. I don't think they're able to hear. And I just am not going to waste that kind of time and energy on those people. I can't. I don't have it in me.
You don't give two fucks.
I don't give 3 fucks. No.
Well, we're trying right now to see if this could be the show that the most cursing happens on, because I don't know if we had there was one guest we thought would cuss a lot who didn't cuss, and now we're like, okay, we got the right.
Oh, I dropped them. In fact, I got enticed into doing a debate, a YouTube debate on a Christian show, and I don't do debates. I'm not a debater. I don't know all the stuff, but I said, yeah, I'll do it, because I'm a podcast whore. I'll come on anybody's show. No disrespect there. I've been looking forward.
None taken. It took me 3 emails to get you on this show, so now I'm really fucking taking it personally.
We have the hashtag and it's fucking great, right?
I know that, and that I want to come back to that point, because that has really helped me. I want to tell you that seriously.
In what way?
I'll come back to that. But to finish my story, in fact, I may have already lost it. I got on this YouTube debate with this Christian, and he was all prepared, and he had a statement. I don't prepare shit. I just get on and start talking. And at one point, I said the subject was morality. And they're basically saying that an atheist can't be moral, and that's whatever. But at one point, I said I'm more moral as an atheist than I was as a Christian. Yeah, which I truly believe. And he said, "Oh, I don't know about that, Dave." And I said, "What do you mean?" I've seen some of your shows. And I said, "Well, yeah." And he said, "You're quite the potty mouth." And I said,
I love that.
Did you really say potty mouth? Are we in the 4th grade? What is going on here? So I do drop the F-bombs.
Yeah. I just gave a talk at the Rotary Club here about 3 days ago. And Bambos was in the audience there. And I said, okay, just to begin, I need to ask, I'm going to use the F word. I need to know if anyone's going to have a problem with that before I start. And then they were looking like, what do you mean F word? I mean, fuck. Am I allowed to use the word fuck? And I expect you to say it as well. Can we all agree? It It was an icebreaker.
It's online for those who want to watch that.
Check that out. That's funny.
Yeah. So what was the next question? We had two questions there that we were going into. Oh, how has because you mentioned when you were talking about this that and it's fucking great has been helpful. How has it been helpful for you?
Well, because like I alluded to earlier, I've had to adjust my mentality. Everything with ALS is about adjustment.
Yeah.
You're adjusting to losses, because we kind of have a thing where we say ALS stands for always losing something.
Wow.
Because it is true. Your body is disintegrating.
Mm.
And you can watch it happen. You can see the strength ebbing from you. The things I could do with ease 6 months ago are more difficult now. And I'm aware that those things are going to become impossible. Yeah. And I'm going to have to adjust how I live and the things I need help with. And that's hard. I've been an independent, self-sufficient man for 65 years. And to give up those freedoms, I did some road trips recently, just solo road trips, driving, just to test myself, just to see what can I do, push myself as far as I can, like jumping out of an airplane. I was telling Bevan last night, let me take the trash out, this big bag that I have to throw over into a bucket. I want to see what I can do. I'll tell you if I can't do it, but it's important to me to keep doing whatever I can do, because the day's coming when I just can't.
Yeah.
And
you're actually appreciating taking the garbage out.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. That's the man chore, right? But I have to adjust my thinking as I go along. And so getting the diagnosis, quitting working, moving in with friends, losing my independence. And then as the dying out loud thing started happening, and it started giving me a real sense of purpose and meaning, and I started connecting with people and realizing that my story could have an impact. And I thought, this is awesome. And so it gave me something to gain instead of just losing. And then that was going strong. We were traveling and speaking and going, like I said, we had trips to Europe scheduled. And then what are the fucking odds? First of all, what are the odds that I get ALS out of all the people? It's such a random, chaotic disease. And then what are the odds that a once in a 100-year plague would hit at just the time when I'm needing to ramp up? Because these are months I don't get back. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
When the world's shutting down, the rest of you guys can go, well, eventually it's going to open back up.
Yeah.
And eventually we can travel again. And eventually we can do this. Maybe a year or two. Okay.
You're like, this is cutting into my 3 fucking years. Every month.
I don't have the time.
Yeah.
And it was just, at first, I didn't realize how devastating it was to me. And then I realized that it's really affecting me mentally. It's affecting my relationships. It affected my relationship with my partner, Bevan, and friends, and my mental health. And I wasn't really paying much as well attention to it. But your ideology of embracing a negative and then not just saying it's okay or yeah, I'll manage, but it's fucking awesome. That is it's almost a mental game. I know that, but it works.
Yeah, exactly.
It really does. When you say, you know what, this COVID thing is happening and it's shut my world down and it's restricted me, and it's fucking awesome. So I'm able to embrace a negative and say, not only is it okay, I've got to make it awesome. And it's up to me to make it awesome, because it's not going to be awesome by itself.
Yeah.
It's going to be determined by what I do with it. And so I've adjusted, and I've gotten back to working hard on my book that I'm writing, and doing more shows like this, and doing the things I can do, and not allowing the losses to impact me as much.
No.
It's huge. It really is. It's a subtle thing.
Yeah.
But it can be a difference maker.
Yeah, beautiful.
So when I'm listening to you, Dave, and I'm quite empathetic in a way that, like, in my mind, it's like, oh, I'm taking the garbage out. This might be the last time. Oh, I'm touching my partner in this way. This might be the last time. It feels like there's a presence there, appreciating the moment, knowing that that might be the last time.
There was another saying that I began to live by a few years ago that really got amplified after ALS, and it's this: we don't remember the days, we remember the moments. And that's, I think, a microcosm of life. If you think back to big things that happened or bad things that happened, it was a moment. It was a specific instance where that thing gelled. And so that is true. What you say is, and I'm hyper aware of this, thinking, okay, when will be the last sunset I see? When will be the last time I make love with my partner? When will be the last cigar that I enjoy? When will be the last sip of bourbon? When will be the last conversation filled with laughter and tears that are just incredibly precious moments? Those things are super amplified in my mind so that everything I do takes on more meaning.
It's almost like if I'm tuning into you, you might even experience some, like you also said that you cry more easily. I can imagine the tears might be there and even amplifies the experience itself.
Oh,
makes
yeah.
it more beautiful, more connected.
Yeah, it could be a simple thing that other people would not, it wouldn't mean as much, and I can tear up just thinking about how important this particular moment is.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. You guys okay?
Yeah, I'm great.
I'm just taking it in.
Bambos asks questions slower than I do, so I leave a lot of pauses if he's on a streak.
Yeah, and I also like the pause just to let those
words
sit.
It's good to let the moment sit. Yeah.
I remember when you were talking about moments, I remember it was a year before my mom died, and some guest was over, which forced me to stay in the same bed she was in just because the logistics. And I remember looking over at her and thinking to myself at that point, it was just that was like, there's one day she's not going to be there, and I'm going to cherish this moment.
Exactly.
And I remember that moment till today.
Wow.
That how important that moment was, and I really cherished it, realizing there's going to be one day when she's not there, and strangely, I thought that moment would be something I could hold on to, but actually, it didn't bring me the comfort that I expected it to have brought me, because I thought I was going to hold on to that moment as if it was going to really be something to help me when she wasn't there, but actually, all it is like, wow, it was just at that moment, it was important for me to acknowledge that. Yeah. And
the moments can be joyful or they can be sorrowful. Like you mentioned in the intro that I didn't just say February of 2019, it was February 26th. I could be even more specific, about 10 o'clock in the morning. That particular moment was a life changer,
Dave, when you share your story, do you also get people giving you advice?
A little bit. I think I come across as someone who may not be amenable to that, so I don't get a lot of it. But I have had several messages where they'll recommend a holistic kind of therapy or some natural. If you drink this kind of juice and have a positive mental attitude, it'll. I did Seth Andrews' show, The Thinking Atheist, a few months ago, and we had a caller who did that very thing. He said he was basically saying you can heal yourself with your mind. We let him talk a little bit, and then both of us basically said to him, "Hey, fuck off, dude."
I love how people, I don't know how long it takes for people to realize that you have to kind of meet people where they are, not where you think they should be.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, most people don't go through their lives and ever learn that lesson. They always think people should be where they think they should be, not realizing that there's like a subtle arrogance and a total disrespect of where that individual is at that moment, right? It's just, It
Yeah.
never
Oh,
ceases to amaze me.
it's incredibly arrogant. And, those of us that came out of evangelical Christianity, we're familiar with that kind of arrogance because we lived under the idea that our way is the only way and we're right and
Yeah.
everybody else is just fucking wrong. And
Yeah.
it's our job to tell them how wrong they are and to fix them.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, how arrogant can you be?
Yeah, crazy, isn't it?
I think a fuck off is sufficient.
We've been attracting so many atheists to this show. It was unintended, but we've got like a list of people. Bolalong, he's written like 4 of the same messages over and over. I've never seen him post so many times. It's like, say it to him, let him know.
Dave, I forgot that lying is immoral.
Dave, you forgot that lying is immoral. If you pretend that what you believe is a reality, you're a liar.
Yeah.
Nice.
I love Bolalong.
Paul Rivers, she's a supporter. I love her.
Yeah, Bolalong gets really fed up with religion. He's in the middle of a group of people who project onto him because he's decided not to support the local religion. Oh. And he's now been persecuted emotionally. Everyone's telling him the way he should live and all that kind of nonsense. So,
yeah.
So Dave, I'd love to ask you a little bit of a more deepening question. So there's a lot of joy here, and obviously to feel the joy, you feel the pain. You can't shut the pain down. So when you go to bed at night, because I feel that the evening time is the time where things can really arise. Like subtleties, what might be something that you're dealing with or experiencing?
That comes up for you.
Yeah.
Just the, I think I go through most of my days a little bit in denial. And Bevan and I have talked about this a little bit because we've been, our whole dating relationship has been under the cloud of ALS. We didn't actually start dating until after I got diagnosed.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've not ever had what you would call a normal relationship. But we've managed it. We've managed it because to deal with something like this, if you keep it in the forefront of your thinking all the time, it'll devastate you. You can't function. I'd be in a fetal position on the floor. But every now and then, like you said, it's at night or in the morning, the reality of it cascades down on you. And sometimes it's because you feel it in your arms. Like sleeping now, I get pain in my shoulders because the muscles are leaving my arms, and I'm basically bone against tendon there. So sleeping on my side, I feel pain in my shoulders, and waking up, getting dressed, it's a little bit difficult sometimes. So yeah, those moments when the reality of it is slapping me in the face can be very sobering. And it's like, oh my God, this is going to end. This is really going to end. And it's also going to end very badly. It's not like one day I'll just fall asleep. It's that my life will get worse and worse and worse. And those are hard things to wrestle with mentally.
And how do you navigate that?
With bourbon and marijuana. No, I do take some CBD and THC oil every night.
Yeah.
It's been recommended to me. Bevan's awesome. My girlfriend that you met, she's a real strength and she's a real support, and she is such an advocate and such a strong. I mean, it's hard for her too because she's going to lose someone that she loves and is very important to her. And I think about that, and almost makes me sadder than my own loss because I'll go to sleep and not wake up.
Yeah,
she's the one that has to deal with the aftermath of that. I'm aware that my death will be worse and harder on people around me than it will be on me.
Yeah,
I'm super aware of that, and it makes me very sad for them. So I medicate it by trying to do the best I can with what time I do have, and trying to make. I feel like if a couple of days go by and I haven't done what I consider something to be productive, then I really start chastising myself, and I think, okay, I'm really wasting time that I don't have. So for me, being productive and forward thinking is the best way for me to medicate it. Finding value in the moments.
Hmm.
You talked about, thanks for that again. You talked about that you've been talking to a lot of people, you're doing a lot of podcasts, you're impacting people's lives. Are you writing a book? Are you having a group of people that you come together every week and you talk? Like, in what kind of settings do you impact people?
Well, before COVID, we were doing a lot of traveling and public speaking. I was going to secular groups and had a couple of conventions planned, and that was really energizing for me. I actually love talking, and I feed off the energy of the room. So that was again a loss. But I've been doing virtual shows, Zoom meetings. So the group will come together virtually. I spoke with a group last week. I've got another one coming up Sunday in Calgary, Alberta. So I'm able to still connect with the people. I just don't do it in person. And so those things give me meaning. And I am writing a book. I've been working on my memoir, and I'm working with a co-writer. And so I'm trying to stay really focused on that. And I've really shifted my mind again that it's fucking awesome mentality is, okay, now I've got this time to really focus on the book. So I'm really dedicating some time each day on that. And then doing these kind of shows. I'm going to start doing more YouTube shows of my own. Just I can still do the connection. I just have to do it differently.
And what is the book called, if I may ask? Dying Out Loud?
Well, that's interesting. I'm going to do 2 books, actually. I get very ambitious when I'm writing my memoir, and the working title in my head right now is going to be called When I Became a Man. And I'm taking that from a scripture. The scripture is, when I was a child, I thought like a child, I lived like a child, so on. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. And it's a little bit of a dig to my evangelical background, because to me, leaving Christianity was putting away childish things. And I didn't really become a man until my mid-50s in that sense.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the working title in my head. And then I'm going to end that book with my diagnosis. And then a second book will be the Dying Out Loud book, which will be the story of my tour. And it'll have a lot of the actual messages I've gotten from people.
Nice.
Which have blown me away. I mean, just 2 weeks ago, I got a message from a woman who dealt with suicidal thoughts and depression and found my story, and it really impacted her in such a way that it could very well have saved her life. And I don't mean to overstate that, but I've gotten messages like that where they're basically saying to me, you changed the way I'm looking at life, and I thank you for that. And I never get tired of seeing that, guys. I never get tired of hearing that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And so that's been the most amazing part of this journey to me.
I think if people are lucky, they get to have that experience, because what I've been noticing in my own life is that I'm always saying that I'm preparing to die. Like, when we talk about living, and no, and when I feel into, when I say I'm preparing to die, it really goes to the energy you're speaking to, which is being present with people in their misery so that they don't need to feel so alone. And when I was preparing to live, what I was trying to do is I was trying to solve everyone else's misery, thinking that there was something I could do that was, super miraculous.
Yeah.
And there's something, I think, a phase one goes through when they're like, wow, just being there in love is enough. It's just enough. And being an example of it allows others who don't have the same trust or confidence to feel more comfortable with their pain. Because everyone can tell you how to solve your pain. The question is, are you ready to feel your own pain and be an example of it, so I know that somebody else is feeling the same way I'm feeling?
Yeah, and that's essentially what the Dying Out Loud tour or movement or whatever people have called it. That's essentially what it is. I like to say it's not dying out loud, it's living out loud. And it's taking the cards you've been dealt and playing the hand the way you want to play it and making the most of it.
So there will come a point where, put it bluntly, someone will be wiping your ass, and there'll be the basics that you won't be able to take care anymore. Have you thought about worst case scenario? I want to end my life, or I'm just going to let my body go out by itself. Like what have some of the things that come up for you, if I'm even formulating this question clearly?
Yes, I know exactly what you're saying. And I actually work with a group called the Final Exit Network. There's a link to their website on my website, daveoutloud.com. It's a group I heard about early on after my diagnosis. One of my friends came across it and we contacted them. In the States, in the US, there are only a handful of states that have a death with dignity law, wherein you can do physician-assisted suicide or death with dignity, those kind of things. This group helps you end your life on your own terms whenever you are unhappy with the quality of your life. It's only for people at this point with terminal illnesses like mine, whose prognosis is hopeless. Essentially, there's no cure, no treatment. So it allows someone like me to take control of how things end and when things end. That's an important issue because for me, I will not get to the point where I'm having to have everyone do everything for me. I won't put that on them. And the reason I won't is because I don't see the point of that. My goal is not to live as many days as I can. My goal is to live as many quality days as I can. And I want to be the one who decides when that quality of life is no longer acceptable. And I may change that. In fact, I've told Bevan that because of you, I may stay around longer. Because I'll still have a quality of life that I find acceptable, even though I can't do certain things. There are still certain things that make life valuable and make the moments meaningful. But the key to that is I want to be the one to choose that.
Yeah.
And I will be the one that chooses that. And so I work with this organization, and they actually someone heard one of my talks and connected me with the president and the board, the group. And so they actually support my work, and we kind of have an official partnership in a sense. I support them, they support me, because I think it's an important organization and it's important work. And people in my position need to have that control given back to them.
But how does a group like that support you?
They actually monetarily, and I just published an article in their magazine, and so we just kind of I talk about their organization, they talk about my organization.
But I was wondering if, like, in some ways, there's like the injections that they have when they in the countries where you can have assisted, what is it called? The
euthanasia
or the death with dignity sort of laws. But in your case, how do you have any clue of how this is kind of the way that I've planned out? When it gets bad, this would be the way I would want to do it.
You mean the actual mechanism?
Yeah, the mechanism. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of morbid to talk about, but
we don't have to.
It is what it is. It's a nitrogen hood. You put a hood on your head, you breathe in nitrogen, you go to sleep.
Wow.
And they help you get the equipment you need. They help you with the legal issues, financial issues, to make sure everything's in order. They have lawyers. I mean, it's a wonderful organization. That's a nonprofit, volunteer-based. And so all the details are planned out ahead of time. There's actually about 30% of the people that enlist their services and never use them. But it's about the choice and the control. And that's the key.
Yeah, that's what I think. It's like, if you have the choice, then you don't feel like you're a victim of your circumstance. You really do get to define how you want to live.
And I may decide, you know what, I'm gonna let this play out.
Yeah.
We'll see. I may find that I like people wiping my butt.
Exactly. Bevan, you really do love me. I was just testing you. I've got another question, or something that curious that happened. Oh, we mentioned before, we have a mutual friend, Bambos and I, whose father was recently diagnosed with ALS. It was accelerated. It was a much faster.
Yeah.
And he called me with his father to discuss the acceleration of it and how they were having a hard time dealing with the loss, with what you called always losing something. I didn't know that was but that's what I took from the ALS. So when I was on the call, it was very weird for me because they were asking me how I would suggest they go through this process together because they were both suffering. And I said, well, I would do it the following way. When you lose another capacity, I would suggest that the two of you celebrate that as another step and another journey you're making together. Because if you accept and you love it, your last moments together are going to be precious. You'll actually get to have a journey where you say, wow, I'm shutting down here and I'm shutting down there, and letting yourselves kind of enjoy would be a strong word, but letting you sort of embrace the reality of what's really going on here. And it was an uncomfortable moment for me, because on one level I'm talking to this man who, I don't know all that well, but I know intuitively, if I'm ever struggling with anything in my life and I'm not allowing it to be just embraced for what it is, then there's always something that stops me from being present in this moment. And so that was interesting when you said always losing something. That was weirdly what I asked these two to celebrate together as they went through the end days of their time together.
Elders' wisdom.
Yeah, and I think you're speaking to the issue you faced when telling them, here's what I would do. They were asking you weren't imposing your opinion.
No, of course they were asking, yeah.
But you felt like, do I have the authority to say this? Do I have the that kind of thing? And it's hard, but the truth is you were right, because if I lose, when I lose functionality, the loss is there, whether I'm positive about it, whether I'm angry, whether I embrace it, or whether I fight it. So I might as well say, I can't raise my hands above my head anymore, and it's fucking awesome. Right?
Yeah.
But having that positive mental attitude is everything. Because if I can either get angry or sad, and I do at times. I'm not going to say I handle this perfectly all the time. Or I can say, you know what? This is what it is. Now, what do I do with this? How do I go from here? How do I adjust? It's all about adjustments. And the first adjustment is here.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah. Dave, there's like a real curiosity as to who was the person before February 26th?
Yeah.
Like, if we would be together in an interview, like, what were the things we would be talking about? But actually, what's behind that is, when you were diagnosed and you stepped into actually a new body, actually a new experience, a new you, what were the patterns that immediately got cut out of your life, your own patterns?
Well, I was already living with the idea that life is precious, and it's brief, and it's chaotic. And I'm going to carpe the fucking diem. That was really my mindset. It really was. And I was working in the insurance business, and I was making a good living, having a good time, had a lot of friends, a good active social life. And I was living a good life, and I was very happy with my life. I wasn't an outspoken atheist. I wasn't what they call an atheist activist. I was just quietly minding my business and going about my life. And I figured I would keep working until I'm 70 something and retire and travel and do whatever. And then with the diagnosis, all of that changed, and I became a lot more vocal, a lot more active in terms of talking about the things that matter, and talking against the things that don't matter in terms of the things that evangelical Christianity imposes upon people. and the way that it impacts people's lives. I wasn't really outspoken about that like I am now because I didn't see the urgency in it, but the urgency ramped up after the diagnosis. That's the main thing. It just kind of got amplified. It didn't affect, in terms of my attitude about life and my worldview, that didn't radically change. That was already on this trajectory. It just got amplified.
Bevan keeps putting in some information for those people that are listening to what you're saying and wanting my background. So tell me, how did you pick up on Bevan? Because you've got ALS. I can't believe that you didn't use the ALS card for sort of like a drink or, hey, I might only have three years to live. Would you like to go out on a date? Like, how did it happen? Because you met her after you knew you had ALS.
It's an interesting story. We met the new fashioned way on a dating app.
Okay.
I was living in Nashville, Tennessee, where Cass lives, and she lives in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I am right now. That's 7 hours apart. I was over here in Charlotte on business in January of January of 2019.
Oh wow.
And I wasn't diagnosed then. I was just starting to go to the doctors and see what was wrong with me. She says, not quite. What is it? Here we go.
She's going to defend herself. No.
Her version. His version.
It's another show. We have him on right now.
Bevan, we're going to have you on a separate show.
Yeah. You make up as much as you want. We're in for it.
We'll be like her version of dying out loud.
So we started talking. I was over here on business. We started talking, but we hadn't met in person. And so we were talking back and forth, and we were thinking, let's plan to meet. I really like what I see in you, and I'd love to meet you and that sort of thing. But we hadn't.
Can you be specific? What did you like about what you saw in her?
Well, you saw her. Come on.
She's hot. I mean, let's give it like that. That's besides the point. But what emotionally were you attracted to?
We had the same mindset in terms of worldview and what was important, and she understood and related with my loss of Christianity. She was fascinated by that. She wasn't really an evangelical like I was. She had dabbled in with faith early on in life, but kind of just started it, 20s or so, maybe before that. So she was smart and funny. We laughed a lot together. We really connected on a lot of ways. And so I was intrigued and wanted to meet her. And so we kept trying to make a time to meet. Well, because I was in town, she thought I was in town on business, a married man wanting to hook up with her.
Yeah, of course.
But I wasn't. So we actually talked the first time on the phone when I was driving back from Charlotte to Nashville. So we had our first talk. And so anyway, over the next couple of months until my diagnosis, I didn't actually meet her until I think April, late March, early April. And so one day in March, I texted her. I didn't even call us. I said, I need to tell you something. I've been diagnosed with ALS. And it was a shock to her. And I said, I understand if you don't want to meet me now. I totally understand, but I still would like to meet you. And so we did. I came over here. We went on a date. We were talking about it last night. Our first date lasted till 3 a.m. And it was, we really connected. And then the next weekend I came back and we went to the weekend and spent the weekend in Charleston at the beach. And that's when we fell in love. And at first, on our first date, I said to her, it's obvious we just need to be friends because, what can come of this? Because at that point I thought I may be alive a year. I have no idea where this is going to go.
Yeah.
And why would you want to get involved in that?
Yeah.
But she did. And she's amazing. She's
That's
just
beautiful.
amazing.
Yeah. I think why would you not want to, not why would you? In my own, I always think that life is such a transient thing that the more intense and the more beautiful it is with whatever it is, it's only avoiding pain, right? If you avoid pain, you're never really living anyways.
That's the thing. That's the thing. That's a great point. And we've had friends on both sides of the aisle say, "Why did you guys do this? What?" They look at Bevan and say, "Why would you do this?
Yeah, you're so hot. Why would you go with someone looking like that?"
Why do you get this old dying man? But if you think about it, every relationship is terminal.
Yeah.
Either you're going to break up or one of you's going to die.
Yeah.
And so you just have to live life in the way that you want to and say, this is valuable. This has value. These are moments that I want. And so I'm going to get them. I'm going to take them. And it's going to end when it ends. In
my relationship with my wife, Ronnie, it's often, even if I leave the house just to do an errand, she says goodbye to me as if that's going to be the last time we see one another.
That's smart, because you just never know.
Yeah, it's true. It's no exaggeration. It's really to the point when I'm like, "Come on, babe. Like, yeah, what are the odds? Let's work the odds on this one." But there's obviously a beauty, and that's what makes and there's even tears. I even see there'll be tears in the evening when we know that one of us won't necessarily always be there.
Yeah.
And that's like, those are hard moments, and a lot of people won't even allow that feeling to come in because it's just too overwhelming.
Yeah, you can guard yourself against the pain of life, but you're really not going to live.
Yeah.
That's the truth. You're to guard yourself against that, you're going to have to abdicate all the things that make life wonderful, or a lot of the things. And I just think it's worth it.
No.
So what do you love about yourself, Dave?
What's that?
What do you love about yourself?
Oh my God, everything. I'm awesome.
I'm the shit.
I'm the shit, man. That's a good question. I've never been asked that question. Wow. I love my zest for life. I love my compassion for people. I love my mind. I'm grateful that I have something that the worst thing to me would be getting Alzheimer's or dementia and losing my ability to think and to reason and to be aware, because I love awareness. And so I know that I'm a complex person, but I'm also aware that I connect with people well. And I think that's what I've learned. I've always kind of known that about myself, but I've really seen it in this last year and a half with the Dying Out Loud thing, my ability to connect with people all over the world and to have a meaningful connection that makes a difference. That's been huge for me. I just saw this message from Kyle Brewer. Hey, Kyle, we had a conversation, and I think we maybe talked a couple times.
Yeah.
He had this irrational fear of hell, and I was able to help him navigate, and that to me is huge. I
would say to him, look out the window. There it is.
Yeah, we're living it right now.
You're living it, buddy.
Go online. I have a follow-up question for you, Dave.
Okay.
I've come up with this question I'm a photographer. When I do couple shoots, what do you love about yourself when you're with your partner? What are the qualities that she brings up in you that you love about yourself?
I love how she makes me feel about myself, because I see all the flaws in me, and she sees it too. But most of us, if we're honest with ourselves, if we're self-aware, are our worst critic. We see what we really are, who we really are, and we can be that can be hard. We can be hard on ourselves. But she sees me and sees my flaws and just loves me so much. And it makes me feel better about myself. Like, maybe I am lovable. Maybe I am worth it. Maybe I am a good guy. Because if she thinks I am and she's that amazing, then maybe I really am.
Yeah. Yeah.
I noticed downstairs, Ronnie gave you a little pink book, What I Love About You.
Yeah.
I didn't. I just saw, and I know that book, so I saw that you guys must have filled it in, right?
No, Ronnie. For my 50th birthday, my wife got a little book that's What I Love About You, and then it's basically she had to fill in sort of the last word of a sentence. And yeah,
we need to tell each other that kind of stuff. A lot of times it goes unsaid.
Yeah. I always laugh because we have a game with my wife. Is that she asks me to compliment her, and whenever I compliment her, I always make it back about me. I've contrived every single possible way of like saying things like, "I just like who I am with you," and then I just find
when you're with somebody that when it fits, you like the person you are when you're with them.
Yeah. Very, very true. I've got a question. We're going a bit over, which is fine. I just had a few just additionals.
Cass will edit it out.
Of course you will on our podcast. You've got, I assume, some sort of bucket list. We know that skydiving was on it.
Have you had the threesome yet?
Exactly. That was my question.
What's that?
Have you had your threesome yet? We're going to have Bevan. We're going to say, Bevan, listen, every man living, he's not going to ask for it, but let us tell you, this is what he really desires.
So I'm not the only one, right?
No, you're not the only one.
No, it's funny. We've actually talked about that.
But what are the other things maybe that would be less obvious? You say, yeah, this is something that I would love to have done before I leave this plane.
We have a couple of places that we want to travel to. Yeah, Greece is one of them.
Go to Cyprus.
Cyprus, yeah. And, actually, Amsterdam is one of them. I'm not kidding.
Nice.
So you guys brace yourself. We're coming to see you.
Look forward to seeing
We're
you.
going to do this live then.
Yeah, then we'll have a live.
We will. And other than that, I hot air balloon. We're going to do a hot air balloon ride. We actually went to the Grand Canyon a few months ago. That was something I'd never seen.
Wow.
We actually did a helicopter ride over the Grand Canyon. So we're doing stuff. I feel, and after the skydiving, somebody sent me a message and said, I want to take you hang gliding. So I said,
nice.
Okay, add that. I've got a friend who's taking me scuba diving soon.
Okay.
So just stuff, the things that I want to do in terms of travel or activities are things that make me feel alive.
Yeah.
That energize me, that maybe even might frighten me a bit. Because if I'm not feeling emotion, then I'm not alive.
Yeah.
I want to feel the pain. I want to feel the sadness. I want to cry. I want to laugh. I want to feel. I want to experience, because that is the essence of life to me.
Yeah. I wish that everyone got the carpe fucking diem moments in their life to say, hey, if I accept that this is a transient space, then I very well might make different decisions, live a much fuller life. So
one thing I talk about a lot in my talk and stuff is that coming out of Christianity, where this life is just a preview for the eternal life, and coming in as an atheist and looking at life and death, where you realize this life is the only one we have. And it makes it that much more precious. It makes it that much more meaningful. So I've said a lot, facing a terminal illness as an atheist, to me is much more powerful and meaningful than it would be as a Christian.
Yeah.
Because then, I'm going to die, but big deal. I'm going to live forever anyway. So, okay.
Yeah. You don't take this moment seriously if you think that you can relegate it to the afterlife. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, we've got a few comments that we haven't spoken to, by the way.
We have a lot of comments.
We have a lot of comments. Karen Walker says, Dave, go see your mom. So
hey,
whoever Karen Walker is,
high school.
She clearly wants you to spend a little bit more time with your mom before you head out.
Yeah.
Bevan, in response to our threesome, has clearly said no to that regard. I'm still want that under negotiation, so we'll park that for.
Will you guys advocate for me?
And Bolalong, this is about as generous as you can get for Bolong. as you speak, I can relate with most of what you say, and that's saying a lot for Bowl Along, because for a lot of guests, you're never quite sure if he agrees with anything they say.
Oh, I love it. Thank you, Bowl Along.
Bowl Along's in South Africa, so you've got a South Africa follower at the moment. Yeah. So we've gone over our time, and I am deeply grateful that you came to join us today.
Deeply grateful.
Looking forward to this. You guys rock.
Yeah, thank you. It's really fun to be with you, and I look forward to doing another show. Maybe we'll do a second phase of Living Out Loud. We'll have a different name on that show.
Yeah, get your ass to Amsterdam, please.
Yeah.
Love
you, Dave.
Love you guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
That was sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Almost to the end. I've been looking at our schedule and guest list for the next few weeks, and although our guests, our listeners, our daily listeners won't be happy, in mid-November we're going to park for about a month and a half our shows, so that we have a little bit of a time to chill out and get some good guests coming up in the start of the next year. So
we also have an exciting show coming up.
Yeah,
and I hope it's going to be it's an experiment where we go on the streets and we talk to people.
We
live.
randomly speak to people live, and we got to figure out what the format of the questions are going to be. If you've got ideas or questions, please post them.
I have 100 questions. Don't worry about that.
Oh, okay. Then you'll ask the questions. I'll be the one filming.
Yeah.
Because you're far more. You can walk up to anybody and chat them up.
Yeah.
I mean, you've embarrassed me just by being around you as you've chatted women up on the streets.
You've been embarrassed? I can't imagine.
Oh my God. Oh, the way you were doing it before you started to ground your energy.
What do you mean?
I
checked you out. I came say hi.
I wish I could have been like you ever in my life, actually. I never would have had the balls that you have just to walk up to a random person on the street and say, I find you beautiful. Would you mind giving me your phone number?
I'm going to just tell people I'm dying, which is kind of true.
Oh, yeah. Vaguely. Not exactly sure when, but it's happening. Tomorrow, we have another show around sex addiction. This is going to be a nice one. We've got
Dave Warnock.
No, Dave Warnock's today.
Jeremy.
Yeah, we got Jeremy.
From sex addict to monk.
From sex addict. He was a monk for several years. So we're going to talk to him about what life looks like when you're a sex addict and then you shift to a monk. And then he now is an executive coach. So we'll talk about each of those phases. And we're going to do that on
A Wonderful
Chaos. And there it is. What are we going to do that on?
I'm not saying this anymore.